creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
This is scary. You ever heard about the prophecy of the popes? It's a 12th century prophecy hidden in the Vatican's archives. You know, the library that's said to contain the deepest secret of the world. It claims to list every pope from the year 1143 right up to, guess who? Pope Francis, our current pope. But here's the terrifying part, it just stops. Right there. No pope after him, only 2 words. Judgment Day. Yeah, it sounds dramatic, but it just started getting weird. Inside St. Paul's Basilica, there's a spot for every pope's portrait, circling the sanctuary. But the design leaves only one empty slot after Pope Francis. They say that when that final spot is filled, it's the end. Simple as that. Now here's where it twists. So, according to the prophecy, the time between the first pope listed and the midpoint pope in 1585 was 422 years. Now add another 422 years from there, and you land on 2027. Coincidence? Think again. And if that wasn't enough, Pope John the 23rd himself supposedly said the end would come exactly 2,000 years plus Christ's lifetime. Do the math. You get, 2027, that's 3 times. 3 predictions, all pointing to the same year. That's not just a random guess, that's a countdown, and it's ticking.
I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, now and always.
Has anybody seen that video that's going viral right now of that huge-ass UFO that appeared in Austin, Texas? That video is actually insane, how you can hear the person screaming, yelling, obviously in a state of shock. You can hear police sirens in the background, shit's obviously popping off. Dude's outside recording what seems to be a huge-ass cloud with a whole bunch of fireballs inside of it. If you haven't, then I highly recommend that you go watch that video, and I'll tell you why here in a second, but I'll tag him down below so you can do that for yourself. There's obviously something that's going on in our skies, especially over the Gulf of Mexico. But the reason why I'm asking you to go watch it is so you can go look at the comment section. Because it obviously proves that 1, people instantly believe something on the internet that they see without actually thinking outside the box. And 2, how much humans are willingly deceived. All you had to do on that video was literally just look at the sound, and you could tell that that video had a sound from another video on it. Then all you had to do was look at the content creator's other videos and see that he's literally an AI expert. That video in that comment section and how many people actually believe that, especially people living in Austin, Texas, only proves one thing. That AI is literally advancing far too quickly for the human mind to be able to comprehend it. If something were to actually pop off like that, how would one really know that it's actually happening right in front of you? You probably wouldn't. And see, that's the problem. I'm just saying, when there's an in quotations return, are you all of a sudden going to believe that instantly right when it's happening?
By the way, it's the Gulf of America now. Yeah, AI is messed up.
Let's talk about the dark secrets of alcohol and alcoholic drinks. There is something hidden within alcohol that the system does not want you to know. The system wants you to believe that everything you see is just physical. But everything you see here on the physical world is a manifestation of something that is already in the spiritual realm. In ancient tradition, people used to believe in evil spirits and creatures known as jinns. Now, jinns were invisible creatures that were believed that they will be able to possess a human body. What if I told you that alcohol is a combination of spirits and jinns that are meant to possess your body? Let me explain. The name alcohol comes from the ancient Arabic name called alcohol. Now, alcohol means body-eating spirits. Why do you think in alcohol we have names like spirits and jinns? Now, what alcohol does in physical, whenever you take alcohol, it destroys the connection between your brain cells and the connection between your chakras. But in the spiritual realm, by doing this, it weakens your magnetic field. And when your magnetic field is weakened, the spirits can be able to possess your body. Whenever your body is possessed, you cannot control your body. Why do you think it is very hard to come out of addictions of alcohol? Because it's not just addiction, it involves a tie between you and the alcohol or the body-eating spirits.
You know, alcohol leads to fights, lusting, false hope, and so on. It drains you.
I've never seen Obama this miserable, this unhappy, and it's not even anxious. He looked like he was worried that the world is going to find us something weird. By the way, today I got a very weird minette from a guy who says, "Hey, I just want to tell you what I think is going to be happening." I said, "What's that?" "I don't know if it's true or not." Okay. He says, "I think there's going to be a lot of people taking their lives." I said, "What?" He said, "I think there's going to be a lot of people that are in there the last 4 years that they know they're going to be exposed and they're going to see a few suicides." I said, "What are you talking about?" Oh, by the way, that thought has never crossed my mind until he sent me this minute this morning, and I'm responding to it.
That's awful.
And I said, why, where are you going with this? So he's saying, look, if the truth comes out of what they did and who was involved the last 4 years, that becomes public. How do you face your wife? By the way, this is kind of like what people did in the stock market a day after 9/11. That's money. You lost everything, right? Here, if any of these guys, the look they gave, when I watched some of their faces, it was a look of somebody that's worried about something being exposed to the world and their legacies being affected and their kids, family, everybody who ever supported them, knowing.
I forgot who said it. Everything done in the dark will be brought into the light. Oh, Cat Williams.
This is Scarface, the legendary lion, and here's him in his final moments, and these are the stats that he accumulated over his lifetime. He was a true legend of his time. Just within the time span of being documented, documentarians witnessed him kill over 400 hyenas to protect and provide for his pride. And Scarface didn't care. He would challenge hippos, not that he would often win, but he was known to solo battle with hippos. He killed over 130 rival lions and would kill and drive out crocs daily. And in the end, he died alone, a true king. He was a master of the Pride Lands. And even with his last breath, he went out strong. And according to Wildlife Services, Scarface died due to old age and starvation. This is how many lions go out, because they can't fend and hunt for themselves, and eventually the pride moves on to a stronger alpha male. Nothing but bravery from Scarface, and mad respect for all animals, but especially a true legend like Scarface. Rest in peace, old king, and may your memory live on through the ages.
Dying of old age in the safari means you've won. Rest in peace, Scarface.
What would you say is the most disturbing thing you've seen while hacking?
A story that I heard from somebody else about somebody paying to watch a live stream of a baby getting their skull stomped on and crushed while the baby was alive. I don't think it was a dark website, it was just a live stream. That one, for whatever reason, although not related to sex crimes, was just as disturbing, if not more, than most.
How can people do this? You know, may God give this baby a very special place in heaven.
Waking up to news that P. Diddy's lawyer has quit. I'm also hearing that this same lawyer represented Osama bin Laden. Do you know how much of a villain P. Diddy has to be? The lawyer said, under no circumstances can I continue. Under no circumstances. And to top it off, one of his charges was necromancy. Am I saying that right? But I just researched what that was. See, I'm stuttering because I'm in shock. But I advise you to do the same. Diddy did it. I've been saying it from the start, but Diddy did it.
Bro would rather represent a terrorist than Diddy.
They've kept this hidden from you. The Great Wall of China isn't just a wall, it's a warning. Think about it. 13,171 miles long. Let me put that in perspective. Crossing the U.S. coast to coast is about 3,000 miles. Now multiply that by 4, and then add 1,000 miles. That's how massive this wall is. Now the question is, who builds something that massive for centuries just to keep a few nomads out? Here is where things get strange. They started building it in 220 BC, over 2,000 years ago. Back then, resources were scarce. Manpower was everything. So ask yourself, what could have scared them so badly they spent more than 1,000 years constructing this monster of a wall? But here's the twist. Take a closer look. The steep side of the wall, the side designed to stop invaders, it's facing China. Yeah, the defenses weren't built to keep people out. They were built to keep something in. And that brings us to the theory of the Tartarian Empire. They say Tartaria built the wall, not the Chinese.
All right.
And the purpose wasn't to protect, it was to contain, to lock away something so dangerous, so terrifying, that it could threaten the entire empire. That's strange, right? What was the wall really holding back?
Bro, I just found out that female monkeys living in more urban areas will literally kill their children and drag their lifeless corpse around the city area so that more people will be sympathetic to them and give them food. And you just see these videos of these fat monkeys carrying around like a fucking lifeless corpse as they're barely even just like putting the food in their mouth. They're just eating for the sake of eating. And you know what they call this shit? You know what they call that shit? They call that shit monkey robes. I'm dead, man.
I live in Bali and we have a lot of monkeys walking around, but I never seen anything like this.
The case of what has happened to Nunu, the child who was child trafficked and then found her trafficker 26 years later. A few years ago, a series of videos start going viral on Douyin. Douyin is like the TikTok of China, the original TikTok. It's of Nunu. Hello everyone, I'm asking for your help. I think I was abducted as a child. I was probably kidnapped between November and December when I was around 5 years old. I remember being with my parents at the time. I think I remember my parents moving to a new city for work. They were renting this small apartment. I lived with them and my sister, who I believe is 3 years older than me. I was trafficked by somebody close to us that had gained my family's trust.
我希望大家帮我扩散消息，让我的家人看到，帮助我早点回家，谢谢。
Most of the comments consist of netizens that are unable to help Nunu, but are encouraging her, hoping for the best outcome for you and your family. I wish I could know something, but I'm not sure. I'll reshare this video with my friends though. But there are some weird comments too, like she's a girl, her parents probably sold her so that they could have a son. You can stop looking, you were most definitely sold by your parents and they're not going to acknowledge you even if you find them. Some would comment she's a liar and she's trying to gain attention online. In the non-stop comments, there's one that starts gaining attention though. Can I get your contact information? If I'm not wrong, I think we're cousins. 26 years after being trafficked, Nunu has a phone number she's supposed to call of somebody that is claiming to be her cousin. And she finally makes the call and the cousin starts explaining what happened in their family to see if things are lining up. My cousin, when she was kidnapped, she told her sister she was gonna go buy knitting needles with the neighbor and then she vanished. Nunu says in that moment, she couldn't even control her hands or her feet. They were just shaking nonstop. I mean, everything is matching up, the descriptions of her home, the family members, everything. I can ask your sister to call you if you'd like, Nunu. Would you like to speak with her? Nunu agrees and they hang up. And she says that every second from that moment forward feels like eternity. She's anxious, she's sitting on her bed, her head is buzzing, it's on fire, and then her phone rings. It's her sister. It had been 26 years.
You know, the fact that both her parents died of heartbreak before she could find them breaks my heart so bad.
Oh, it has actually happened. The UK has won against Apple. Because remember a couple of weeks ago, I told you guys that the UK demanded access to Apple's users' encrypted data? Well, instead of, building a backdoor for them like they demanded, they've now just pulled their advanced data protection feature out of the UK entirely, meaning that from now on, for all Apple customers in the UK, you will no longer have the ability to store your documents, your files, your messages, your photos, all of that in a fully encrypted, fully private manner on iCloud anymore. See you later. And you gotta understand, this is literally unprecedented for Apple. They have never had to do this in any country before. To which they said they were gravely disappointed that the security feature would no longer be available for British customers. Now, if you want more information on what this means and all, I did a full breakdown 9th of February. The question is, what do you guys think? Good thing? Bad thing? Let me know.
Pretty sure this is what JD Vance was lecturing them about.
So how many people listen to that Robert Malone show?
Who knows? Hundreds of millions, probably. I think the biggest one we probably ever did was Bob Lazar. You know who Bob Lazar is? Bob Lazar is the guy that in 1989, he did an interview with George Knapp in Las Vegas, and he said he was working back engineering UFOs for the government. and he has this crazy fucking story about working at Area S4, Site 4, and Area 51 in the Nevada desert, which at that point in time the government would deny that Area 51 even existed. And he's like, no, I work out there, and I was working back engineering propulsion systems from crashed UFOs. And he's explaining how these things work and explaining how it's some sort of a gravity propulsion device that works completely different than any propulsion device that we've ever devised, and that they're trying to back engineer them. They don't know how to do it, so they keep bringing in new propulsion experts. They're essentially throwing as much shit against the wall as possible, trying to see what sticks. Like, can you figure this out? And they're bringing in new people. And he was one of the people they brought in. And when you have top secret clearance, what happens is they tap all your phones, they listen to you all the time. Well, he had this job where he couldn't tell his wife what he was doing. So he would get this phone call saying that he has to fly out to Area 51 at like 11 p.m. So he would go to the airport, fly out, and his wife was like, cheating on me. So she starts flight instructor. She's got some flight instructor. And so because his wife was having an affair and they knew it from the phone calls, they thought that he was going to be emotionally unstable, so they removed him from the project.
Hundreds of million? That seems like an exaggeration.
If everything goes smoothly, I'm going to watch a car fly over another car.
You can actually use it today. And you can cut your commute at least in half, if not more.
Jim Duchovny says his company Aleph Aeronautics was able to create something we've been dreaming about since the Jetsons. And while not quite ready for the road, Duchovny says the flying car is about to take off. NBC News was given exclusive access to see their concept model with our own eyes. Sure enough, we watched it soar through the air over another car and land. But for all the magic of this moment, we were heavily restricted, forced to shoot at least half a football field away, and we never actually saw the driver entering or exiting the vehicle.
We still have some IP, intellectual property, which we're trying to protect.
But practicality might be where the rubber meets the sky.
It's going to be slow, incremental approach, which is good for legal integration, which is good for consumer integration.
But he says, as demand grows, regulations will catch up with the tech.
Car crashes in the sky going to be crazy.
This is the world's cutest caterpillar, the caterpillar of the swallowtail butterfly. To avoid being eaten by birds when it's just born, it disguises itself as bird droppings. Thanks to this disguise, it can eat tree leaves without any worries. It can eat 1.5 times its body weight in one day, and within 2 days, its size doubles. But as its body grows larger, new problems arise. The birds living here can't produce droppings that big. If the birds discover it, it will likely become their next meal. So to solve this problem, it spreads silk threads on the surface of a leaf. Over time, the threads dry and harden, forming a simple incubator. After a period of transformation, it turns into a more colorful caterpillar with beautiful patterns. Soon a bird discovers it. When facing the threat of a predator, the caterpillar arches its head and, with the huge eye-like spots on its head, disguises itself as a snake, something that all birds are afraid of. To make its disguise even more convincing, it grows a fake horn-like structure, making the bird think it's a snake's tongue. At this point, the bird, believing it's a real snake, runs away to save its life. In nature, many creatures use such clever camouflage techniques to survive, and the swallowtail butterfly caterpillar is one of them.
A proof that there is a creator.
All right, man, it's lunch. Today, what you got? Yeah. You got old hand. You got a big boy sandwich today.
This fan.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look how thick.
Yeah, but it's so dry. You don't have no mayonnaise and mustard. Man, you got to bring mayonnaise and mustard. Good, boy. That's gonna be thick, yo.
You know what time it is? Lunch check. Lunch check.
Man, look at that.
Carne con papas que me dio mi hija.
Nice.
Y especial. Caldo de pollo. Caldo de pollo. Y frijoles.
All right, Peach, man, it's Sunday for lunch, about 12:24. What you got, peanut butter jelly time? That's right, you got.
You know why they call it jelly instead of jam?
Why?
Because jelly don't shake like that.
That's right. That are you?
Don't shake like that.
Hey, what else you got? That it? Oh, man, that's
snacky
just...
snacks.
It's like going to the gas station right here, son. You got snacks after snacks.
You know what time it is? Lunch check. Lunche. Start with Jose. Right there.
Wow, look at that.
Chicken mole con frijoles. Yes, sir. And today we got Pepsi. Oh, Pepsi. Yes, sir. Pepsi, okay. No más coca. Good. All right.
All right, man, lunchtime today. Alan, what you got for lunch?
Bologna and cheese.
Man, bologna and cheese.
Bologna and
Mayonnaise,
cheese.
mustard. Mayonnaise, no mustard. Dang.
Lots of salt.
Lots of salt. Drinking that 7-Up? That's good.
All right. You know what time it is?
Man.
Lunch check. What we got?
Oh.
Rice. over here? Boiling crab? Boiling crab. Oh, man. And eggs. 2 different kinds? Yep. Dang.
Karen don't care. Maria know how to love. But wait until you see Asian lunch.
This is an exact replica of the face from the Shroud of Turin. While AI and other tools can enhance the image, they often lose some of the original expressions. To ensure authenticity, we've superimposed the shroud face back onto the enhanced model and manually integrated its details. What you see here is not just a face. It's the most accurate depiction of the Shroud Man, aligning with what a first-century Jewish Nazarene would have looked like. Computer model analysis confirms Semitic features and even a Hebrew Nazarene hairstyle consistent with the time of Jesus. Every field of science that has studied this burial cloth overwhelmingly supports its authenticity. This face will portray Jesus in the upcoming episode of John 3, where he meets Nicodemus. Here are some screenshots and still images from that animation coming soon.
Whether it's the true face of Jesus or not, it doesn't matter. What's important is the word.
This is mind-blowing. You're about to witness the Shroud Man, cleared and enhanced like never before. In just 30 seconds, an ancient image transforms as white marks fade away to reveal the most lifelike visage ever seen, the true face of Jesus of Nazareth. In a mesmerizing moment, one eye slowly opens, drawing you deeper into the mystery. Scientists confirm this isn't mere art. It's a genuine image capturing the real face of a man who changed history. Those white marks, once creating the illusion of age, were actually traces of blood and visual noise, appearing white due to the reversed color process of this positive image. Now that they've vanished, his true youthful visage emerges with sharper, vibrant features and renewed vitality. Based on the shroud image, the camera zooms out to reveal his full body. Likely involved in masonry and carpentry, he stands about 6 feet tall with a stocky build, strong, compact, and resilient. Let's look at some facts with Dr. Richard Kent before we see some amazing animation of this body and face. Intrigued? Click the playlist below for part 6, featuring more facts with Dr. Richard Kent and stunning animation. Don't miss it.
Due to my huge faith in God, this is more likely true.
There's a study that shows that sleeping in a room with very low levels of light for a single night, the next day, more insulin resistance, higher levels of blood glucose, fasting, lower heart rate variability, or HRV, which is a measure of your nervous system.
Lower HRV is bad though, right?
Yeah, you need to sleep in a pitch black room. Even very low levels of light are harming your metabolic function. So a lot of people will sleep with the TV on or they have night lights on. Like, it's really bad news from a metabolic health standpoint. It's literally creating insulin resistance overnight. And imagine if you do that every day. Now you're literally setting yourself up for having poor metabolic health every single morning.
The reason that you don't know anything about money is because John D. Rockefeller created the education system. And if you'll recall, he said, I want a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. So when he created the education system, he made it a one-to-one model. School is the same as a work day at the factory. That's why you go to your 8-hour shift, 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5. Only learning things that make you a better employee. Just like basic math, basic reading and writing, his story, how to stay in line, and how to follow orders. Everything that a good employee should know. Totally neglecting things like teamwork, they call that cheating in school, critical thinking, outside the box problem solving, money management, investing, leadership, sales, communication, tax strategy, and the laws that govern you. And anything else that would be useful in the real world. So what we did is we created our own education system where we learn the things that Rockefeller teaches his kids, like estate planning, tax strategy, trust, insurance, annuities, financial literacy, and privatized banking. So if you want to join our community and learn the strategies that we use, comment the word banker and I'll invite you in.
Wow, that's awesome. But yeah, how do we stop this? I bet you don't learn this in school.
Robert died of massive beating to his body, both externally and internally. Several of his internal organs were bruised. His hyoid bone was fractured. His thyroid cartilage was ripped. He also died as a result of repeated restrictions to his airways, causing severe brain damage. And finally, he died by choking on his own blood. Our investigation revealed that in addition to the taint beating, which you probably have already seen, Robert was beaten on 2 prior occasions between 9/07 and the time of his death, within minutes of his arrival at Marcy. Our investigation further revealed that there was no provocation by Robert Brooks that would have precipitated any physical response whatsoever, never mind the physical response that was inflicted upon him. I think any sentient human being looking at the tapes naturally comes to the conclusion that he must have said something, he must have spit at the officers, he must have resisted in some way, and the fact of the matter is he did absolutely nothing.
What was the motive? I'm just curious, not excusing those monster actions. Anybody knows?
I want to hear the excuse of why we can't have even close to this healthy of food in North American schools. I don't know about Europe, how they're doing, but here's a public school cafeteria lunch in Japan. Homemade broth, fresh ingredients. Dude, at the cafeteria I went to, it was frozen pizza, pizza pockets, French fries, sodas, canola oil, crap. Here they are making from scratch these little egg balls with meat, freshly prepared, and all safe, healthy, clean. And these children, how do you think their brain cells are functioning eating this type of meal as opposed to the processed stuff that apparently we can't afford getting healthy food and having a team of cooks making a delicious meal for our children because it's too expensive, but we pay taxes out the yin-yang. Where's it going? Well, a couple countries overseas. Hee. Okay, temping it. Here's a soup. You know how healthy this is?
You should see French school lunches. It needs to be organic.
The technology continues to advance at the rapid rate. The Robotics and AI Institute has developed the Ultra Mobility Vehicle, also known as a UMV, which is a self-balancing robotic bike that's capable of navigating challenging terrain and even jumping into high surfaces. Now, it's using AI to develop this thing called reinforcement learning, which is playing a key role in the ability for these robots to adapt to complex situations and perform better. Unlike regular self-balancing bikes, this UMV does not use a gyroscope for stability. Instead, it moves like a regular bicycle, and it steers with its front wheel while shifting a weighted top section up and down to maintain balance. The reinforcement learning allows it to learn movements that would be difficult to achieve with conventional control methods. Now, the only real challenge right now is riding in reverse or riding backwards, because that's really highly unstable right now, especially if it's on uneven ground.
I'm glad I'm a little old. You youngsters better start finding Joan Connor.
There's a horror movie on Netflix and you will not make it through the first 10 minutes. It's called Grin. This is easily one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I'll challenge anybody to make it through the first 10 minutes. Check it out and let me know what you think.
If you traveled back 380 million years to the Devonian period, you'd witness a pivotal moment in Earth's history, the first steps of our ancient ancestors from water onto land. It all began with a small fish, a humble pioneer that set the stage for the rise of vertebrates. In the deep sea, you'd also encounter monstrous creatures like Dunkleosteus, a 10-meter-long predator with a bite force rivaling modern hydraulic presses. But this era wasn't just about evolution and dominance. It was also marked by Earth's second mass extinction, a catastrophic event that turned thriving oceans into lifeless wastelands. Welcome to the Devonian, an age ruled by fish and the dawn of vertebrates. The terrifying giants of the Ordovician were long gone, and after tens of thousands of years of recovery, life had entered the Devonian. Yet, as you dive into the ancient seas, you're met with a new wave of horrors, massive bus-sized predators with razor-sharp jaws. These were the descendants of once unassuming fish, now transformed into apex predators. Among them was Dunkleosteus, Dunkleosteus, the undisputed ruler of the early Devonian seas. When these beasts hunted in packs, nearby creatures had little chance of survival. Take ammonites, for example. Though they appeared clumsy, their unique body structure allowed them to jet away from danger in an instant, making them some of the most agile creatures in the ocean. But while young Dunkleosteus might struggle to catch them, the adults had no trouble. In the face of absolute power, even the most clever escape tactics were futile. With their powerful jaws and reinforced vertebrae, Dunkleosteus could crush any smaller prey, showcasing one of evolution's most successful designs. This combination of a backbone and jaws became a blueprint for success, adopted by countless fish species. Some used it to hunt, others to intimidate rivals, and some even to protect their young. Over time, this evolutionary innovation gave rise to another fearsome predator, the shark. Emerging around 400 million years ago, sharks took the backbone and jaw formula to the next level, evolving highly sensitive sensory organs to become even more efficient hunters. But just as you marvel at these predators' dominance, you notice something alarming. The ocean's color begins to change. Approaching the shore, you're met with a horrifying sight: countless fish corpses littering the coastline. This scene repeats across the globe, signaling the onset of Earth's second mass extinction. The water is teeming with plankton, which under the sun's rays begin to decompose. As any aquarium owner knows, decaying organic matter depletes oxygen levels, suffocating marine life. For 2.5 million years, creatures struggled to survive in these toxic waters. Even the mighty Dunkleosteus. The oceans became graveyards, with rotting bodies exacerbating the crisis. This extinction event, the longest of Earth's 5 major extinctions, wiped out roughly 85% of marine species. Yet amidst the devastation, sharks survived. Their scavenging nature allowed them to thrive in an environment abundant with corpses. While the oceans suffered, life on land flourished. Plants grew explosively, pumping oxygen into the atmosphere and transforming the planet. It was during this time that a fish called Tiktaalik made a bold move. It left the water and ventured onto land. With that first step, the Devonian period came to an end, ushering in the Carboniferous, an era dominated by reptiles and the next chapter in Earth's evolutionary saga.
Interesting.
4 things that will attract dangerous people after it all hits the fan. Share this with everyone. Being prepared is one thing. When it comes to survival, it's a whole different ballgame. First up, smoke. You might need a fire to cook or stay warm, but if you burn the wrong things like green wood, plastics, or rubber, you'll create thick white or black smoke that can be seen for miles. Now, this is an open invitation for people who are desperate. If you need to burn something, make a Dakota fire hole, or keep your fire small and use dry wood to minimize smoke. Next up is smell. If you're cooking food, especially meat, that scent will travel far. And in a world where people are starving, that's like ringing the dinner bell. You have to cook, do it low and slow, and try to contain the smell. Because once they catch a whiff, you won't even see them coming. That sound right there is an announcement. Someone out there knows you have supplies and they might be willing to take them. Stay quiet, stay unnoticed, or be ready for company. And finally, we have to talk about light. When the grid goes down and the world's going to be darker than you've ever seen it. 1 candle, 1 flashlight, and you might as well be a lighthouse in a storm. If you need light, block out windows, cover reflections, and never let light escape outside. Survival is about more than what you do. It can also be about what you don't do. Don't be seen, don't be heard, don't be found. Stay dangerous and stay ready.
What am I preparing for? The Hunger Games? Remember, together you stand, divided you fall. Don't let the government divide you.
This is the most brutal massacre in ocean history, where predators from land, sea, and air have teamed up to stage the most spectacular natural phenomenon. On an island in Siberia, from May to June each year, various seabirds, sea fish, and whales gather here simultaneously. The reason they travel thousands of miles to this place is actually to hide under the waves, where billions of silver-scaled fish can be found. Each female fish carries nearly 20,000 eggs. They must spawn on the sandy shores, which is almost a suicidal reproductive method. The hungry humpback whales take 1 bite and swallow thousands of silver-scaled fish. But as soon as they escape the whale's range, the silver-scaled fish are surrounded by thousands of sea lions. All the silver-scaled fish quickly form a huge ball, tightly protecting the female fish in the center. The outer layer of the fish ball is made up of male silver-scaled fish. So even if attacked, the ones eaten are mostly the males. As the school of fish is gradually pushed toward the shallow waters, thousands of seabirds dive towards the silver-scaled fish beneath the water. The surviving fish rush toward the shore, and while the seagulls are busy eating the male fish, the female fish quickly lay their eggs during the brief window of about 10 seconds. Then, the male fish rush to fertilize the eggs just before being eaten by the seagulls. After almost all the male fish die, the fertilized eggs cling tightly to the sand and gleam like jewels. 2 weeks later, the baby fish will hatch and enter the sea under the wash of the waves.
So the only victims are silver scale fish, 1 versus 4.
If you were to travel back 500 million years to the Cambrian period, you would witness Earth's first great explosion of life. Among the creatures of this era, you'd encounter the mantis shrimp, a massive predator reaching up to 3 meters in length, and the most abundant organisms of the time, the trilobites, which played a crucial role in the history of biological evolution. But perhaps the most exciting are these unassuming, strange-looking fish. Don't underestimate them. They are the ancestors of all vertebrates. During the early Cambrian, Earth's surface was almost entirely covered by shallow seas, and it was in these environments that early soft-bodied organisms began the Cambrian chapter of life. At first, these creatures were rooted to the ocean floor, feeding on floating microorganisms. But over time, the first mobile predators emerged. In an era where movement was rare, hunting stationary prey was easy, and the rise of these predators completely transformed the marine ecosystem. To escape their fate as prey, an early species of jellyfish made a bold move. It separated from its parent body and became an independent organism. Eventually, it succeeded in leaving the shallow waters and venturing into the deep sea. With no predators around, these creatures rapidly multiplied and briefly dominated the oceans. However, their reign didn't last long. Soon, another group of organisms rose to prominence, the trilobites. Their arrival marked the beginning of a new biological dynasty, the age of arthropods. Trilobites evolved the earliest exoskeletons, providing them with protection and a significant survival advantage. The Cambrian seas were indeed dangerous, and among the strangest inhabitants was Anomalocaris, Earth's first super predator. With its bizarre, almost alien appearance, this creature had highly sensitive eyes capable of detecting even the slightest movement. But its eyes alone weren't what made it the apex predator of its time. It was its speed. Unlike other species of the era, Anomalocaris could swim swiftly and with precision. No matter how its prey tried to evade, it could quickly adjust its course and capture its target. However, the trilobite's armor was nearly indestructible during this period, allowing them to create one of the most spectacular sights of the ancient seas, their massive breeding grounds. Every year, thousands of trilobites gathered in these areas, a testament to the importance of their protective exoskeletons. For millions of years, arthropods like trilobites seemed invincible. But were they truly unbeatable? Not for long. With the arrival of the Ordovician period, a new dynasty of life emerged, one that would eventually shatter the trilobites' proud armor and reshape the balance of power in the ancient ocean.
2025 and people still believe in evolution?
Kendrick, when he was rapping on stage, started singing Peekaboo in the X. Why? Because he's trying to say Drake X.
80 pointers like a Kobe game.
Where did he do it? The 30-yard line. 30-yard line. What's the Roman numeral? Roman numerals of 30 is X, X, X. Also, he had 2 of Drake's X's plus the X on stage. X, X, X. What was Tentacion known for? Split hair, the black dreads, the blonde dreads.
Yeah.
If you notice the backup dancers, did they have that? A split of black, and they also had red.
Oh my god.
When Kendrick opened, how did he look like rapping? He was like this.
He was crouched down just like the XXL freestyle.
Freestyle,
Yeah.
We circulate through us. Everybody must be judged. Fear will be plentiful. Death will be bountiful. I will spend none of
Everyone thought Kendrick's chain, the small A, was for A minor. No, it's not. It's for PJ Lang. Kendrick.
That's his brand.
Who is Drake signed under? Sony. So it's PJ Lang versus Sony, the controller. That was like a double entendre.
Oh, shit.
When Kendrick was backstage after his performance, did you realize what he was wearing? He had a diamond binky, put it in his mouth, and he started dapping hands up.
Like a pacifier?
Yeah, like a pacifier. Because
like as a baby, as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
I hit you like I'm young.
And he wore a t-shirt, keep those people away from me.
You know how in the back when they had Game Over at the very end?
There was another one.
There was another one, yeah.
Wrong way or something?
Yeah.
Remember when Uncle Sam was like, deduct one life.
Deduct one life.
And then he goes into the X and then starts singing Peekaboo, referencing X.
How does Kendrick know that Drake killed XXX extension?
So, it's time. It's one of them situations that, as a dog owner, it's probably one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. For 14 years now, I've had this special, amazing girl who I absolutely adore, who my family adore, who I just love so goddamn much. She's been with me for, like I say, 14 years, and I was 19 years old at the time when I got her. I was young, stupid, immature, crazy, and she was still always there for me, always there to support me. And she's helped me and my family grow into the person I am now. I'm now 33 years old, and I have a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful children, who are also the most compassionate people in the world. I strongly put that down to this doggy here. She has always been there since before my children was born, and she always took care of my wife. While my children was there, she always looked after them. But now we're at a stage where my children are looking after her. Over the last couple of months, it's just gone from bad to worse, and we've really have tried everything. She's been on Librela, paracetamol, gabapentin, everything that you could possibly imagine, and we're just seeing her get worse and worse and worse. Her legs have gone. She just can't walk anymore. And to see this happen, to see what she's come to, it breaks my heart so much. I don't think anyone understands, but anyone that has dogs do understand. And unfortunately, it's time to let her rest and let her go to sleep. I might not post this video because I don't like people seeing me like this, really. I've not stopped crying for 3 days, but I just want to thank her, really. I just thank you, Millie. Thank you, honestly, for the person you've made me become. I strongly put down to you for the compassion my children have as human beings is down to you. You've taught us all love, you've taught us all compassion, and you're genuinely the most special doggy I've ever met in the whole world, and I cannot thank you enough. Honestly, you're my world. I'll never forget you, and I will always love you. Always. Thank you, Millie. Thank you. We're going to post a video. We're going to give her the most special day ever. We're going to take her to the beach. We're going to get her a McDonald's. We're going to get her ice cream. We're going to literally give her the best day ever. So thank you so much to everyone that's ever been with us, been through our story, been through our journey, because it means more than you'll ever know. Thank you to everybody, but more importantly, thank you to her. I love you, Millie. I always will, okay? Forever.
We are all crying with you, man. And the look in her eyes knowing that you are saying about her, wow.
This is what these people have been waiting for. They came here day after day. This is about freedom.
This is crazy.
The context behind this video is absolutely terrifying, and I do want to put out a trigger warning for people out there. We are going to be talking about the R word and SA. So in this video, we can see a woman covering a live event in a very busy area by the name of Lara Logan. In this video, things seem completely normal, but once her camera light dies, things take a very dark and twisted turn. So for some background, Lara Logan is a well-known radio journalist as well as a war correspondent, and her career started back in the 1990s in South Africa. And in 2001, she became much more well-known, and her profile rose after covering the US invasion of Afghanistan, and then 1 year later was offered a correspondent position at CBS, eventually being promoted to the chief correspondent. She would then spend the next 4 years reporting in battlefield scenarios, which obviously is a very sketchy place to hang out. Sometimes journalists do end up losing their lives, and mainly she was focused on Afghanistan/Iraq. Through all of her journalism and reporting, Lara remained relatively safe. That is until February 11th of 2011, when she was reporting in Egypt. At this time, she was in Tahrir Square celebrating Hosni Mubarak's resignation, and there was a very large celebration taking place, so this seemed like a pretty safe place to do this coverage. The people in the background continued celebrating while the cameras were on, and it seemed like they were pretty accepting of her being there, but once the camera light went out, the guy that she was with told her that they needed to leave ASAP. There were whispers going through the male-dominated crowd stating that they wanted to remove her clothing and touch her in very inappropriate ways, so this is not a good situation to be in. Unfortunately though, because there were roughly 200 to 300 men here, the guide was overpowered and Lara was pulled into the center of them, where they tore off all of her pieces of clothing, and they did some pretty horrific things that I can't really repeat here. All in all, this assault lasted roughly 25 minutes, and there is a pretty terrifying 60-minute interview with Lara herself, where she goes over this in great detail, and there's even a little bit of footage there to give you guys an idea as to how terrifying this was. And while the actions from this crowd are absolutely horrible, and this is clearly not an acceptable thing to do as modern-day humans, many people after this incident were not very supportive of Lara, stating that she knew what she was doing, and the fact that she's a blonde, pretty woman working here means she shouldn't have put herself in this situation to begin with, essentially victim blaming her. And obviously, in my opinion, this is a very bad take. People should be allowed to do the jobs that they want to do, where they want to do it, and be safe. Obviously, there's a limit to how safe you can be if you're a war journalist or in these situations, but still, this is definitely not acceptable. We should not be blaming Lara.
What?
In any event, let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments section below. As mentioned, you guys are able to go find that footage and watch that if you want to. Trigger warning for that. My Patreon's also in the description below if you want to go subscribe and support that. I release my long form videos there early, and I post some exclusive content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
How can someone say it's her fault? Like, seriously. By the way, I did a research. She was RAPED. Ooh. Lucifer. Ooh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I don't want to watch that Michael Jackson thing.
Can you imagine being that famous? Your normal life is not
over.
You just stay in your house.
They set this up for him to go grocery shopping. They emptied a grocery store and paid people to be shoppers so he could have the experience of what it's like to be normal and like have interactions with people. Like,
where's your card? Buy one right there. What? Oh. Step problem here. Where's my card?
What are you getting, some bread? Jesus, look how weird this is.
Don't you feel bad for him though?
Oh yeah, so weird.
You know how much he's worth?
I don't know.
$1.7 billion, they say.
Fun fact, he once owned 50% of Sony, but he ended up losing it.
When you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath. He's already, at 17 years of age, shot and killed his father and got away with it, and stabbed his mother in the neck so hard that the knife went all the way through and was to the back of her neck, and she died there. He's violent. He's dangerous. He showed zero remorse when he was being interviewed. In fact, when we attempted the interview, he met the original deputy in the front yard. And he didn't say, "Mom's in here, Mom's bleeding to death, Mom needs help." He looked the deputy in the eye and says, "I know my rights. I want an attorney." Zero emotion about, "Hurry up, help Mom, she's bleeding, she's got a problem." He is a dangerous human being.
The defense claimed that Catherine's death was actually a case of, quote,
by son. Now, their argument was that Colin and Catherine did, yes, get into a fight, but she was the one who grabbed the knife first, and according to them, she did it on purpose.
State of Florida versus Colin Griffin. With the jury found as follows. As to the defendant in this case, the defendant, as to count 1, the defendant is not guilty.
Look at
as
that
to count
smirk.
2, the defendant is not guilty.
That's right. The whole by son argument, it worked. The trial ended on February 4th, and by February 5th, 2025, the jury found Colin not guilty. Not guilty on all charges.
His lawyer must be very good. And that smirk when they read not guilty? Hey, but God says the truth.
If today you go into the houses of people who understand the ancient way and the way of our ancestors, you will know that these people, they have plant inside the house, especially for those people who live in the populated urban areas. What is the secret behind having this plant inside the house? Because it is very normal to have plant outside the house like flowers, because they are seen as a sign of decoration. But having plant inside the house may seem a little bit abnormal according to the human nature. The secret behind this lies deep from something you could expect. Let me tell you something. The houses that you see today, they are not houses. The reality is, the houses that are being built today, they are prisons for trapping energy. And that is why in the ancient community and the ancient empires, the houses that were being built there, they were very different. The cathedrals, the castles, the empires, they took a very different shape. But the houses that are being built today, they take the shape of a cube. Look at your house very well. Your house is a cube that is decorated on the outside. But in the ancient cathedrals and these ancient structures, they took the shapes of a circle and other shapes, but not the shape of a cube. Now, what does a cube does? Your body is an electromagnetic field. Energy circulates within your body. The energy enters and gets out of your body. But the energy that circulates within the human body take the shape of a circle. The energy is in circular motion. Now, let me tell you something. A circle cannot escape inside a cube. Now, where do these plants come to help in our houses? Now, most of the people, during the activities of the day, people gather the negative energy. And since our energy is being trapped by the house, your house circulates with the negative energy. Now, this plant, they come to absorb the negative energy. Now, when this plant absorbs the negative energy, whatever is left is the good energy inside your house. Some of us, the problems start inside our houses. Now, if you want to know that your house have the negative energy, this plant will be taking very long to grow. And some of them might actually cease to grow. And if you want to know that your house have the positive energy, this plant will be growing in the normal rate as a plant that is in the outside, and this plant will produce flowers. Now you know.
I have a snake plant inside my apartment, just for decoration, nothing else.
If there is a home for the Illuminati, it is in Shannon.
It's a really crazy place. It became sort of a hideaway for the world's elites.
Everybody laughs at you when you get there.
Exactly. There's like a barrier to entry for peasants.
Absolutely. I mean, peasants is a strong word.
Well, that's how they certainly looked at me and Mike.
People showed you respect.
We were the jesters.
We were the jesters. They found us funny.
It's fine because we quickly realized that was the value we brought. Everyone else there has actual real value. Old money as well, which is completely different than new money.
Okay. Good to know.
How dangerous are truly those jungles? Average man gets dropped in the jungle.
You're dead.
Really?
You're dead.
Really?
If you get dropped far enough into the jungle, you're dead.
What's killing you first?
You'll get lost. You get turned around in the Amazon. Everything looks the same. It's not like here where you have big trees and small trees and landmarks. In the Amazon, everything looks the same. And Everything wants to eat you in there. I mean, even the bees are carnivorous in the Amazon.
What?
The bees were one of the worst torments for me. And I enjoyed being in the Amazon, by the way. I was there by choice. But mosquitoes were always a nuisance. The bees were worse because I would have like an open wound on my arm. And during the day, bees come. And the bees will land on your arm, and there are these little bees, and they will yank at your flesh. Like they'll bite off a piece and yank it off.
What?
So you constantly have bees pulling little pieces of your open wound away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was, and they also sting you, but the sting isn't really bad. They're like miniature.
Yeah, but when they're eating your flesh off, that sounds.
That drove me crazy. But everything wants to eat you in the Amazon.
So the human being is at the bottom of the food chain in the Amazon.
Why did my mom stop sacrificing children when I was 8, and what were my father's roles? The reason why my mom stopped the rituals is very easy. She didn't want to get caught. But my father got sick and got cancer when I was 8 years old, so that became a convenient time for her to stop. From the very beginning, my mom would tell me, don't worry, these are going to stop around the age of 10 years old. It was her plan. Yes, it was her plan to stop them and then brainwash us into thinking it never happened, which is what happened. During the years of the rituals, she would literally tell us, don't worry, these are going to stop. I can't do these in your teenage years. I'll get caught. Like, she said it so many times in so many different ways. I knew it was coming. That's just the way things worked in my family. I know of other survivors where the rituals also stopped at a young age, probably to also help them not get caught. Remember, this is organized crime, guys. Every survivor's story is different. I'm just speaking my experience here. What position did my dad hold? Also a simple answer, he obeyed my mother. He was a doormat, she was in charge. I remember my dad's main duties were picking up the children and doing the discard. And then whatever else my mom would tell him to do, he would do. After my dad got sick with cancer and died when I was 9, I don't know where my mom would have found another doormat like him. It was around the time she said she was going to stop anyways, so I believe it was the best time for her to stop. To outsmart the law and keep everyone fooled. Thank you for listening to my experiences that I share with you to help spread awareness about this horrible issue today. And the voiceless children, thank you for listening to them too. Bye.
How do you cope with something like what you went through? Lord have mercy.
Everything we know is a lie, part 10,302. The real New Year's isn't January 1st. It is actually allegedly TikTok. Allegedly. An energy harvesting and a celebration that pays homage to the ancient Roman god Janus. Before we get into it, guys, make sure y'all follow my YouTube. I'm gonna link it above just in case TikTok actually gets banned. I'm about to blow your mind. If you haven't heard it, my daughter's playing on her little toy. Don't mind her. If you haven't heard about this, don't feel bad, because I'm just finding this out today. Janus is the god of gates, beginnings and ending, transitions and time. And it even says in the Bible that the beginning of the year is not January, somewhere between March and April. As you can see right here from another creator, as you can see from the screenshot from another creator, you can look at the bottom left to go look at his video if you'd like. Just think about it. Thousands upon thousands of people fled to New York City in Times Square to watch this ball drop. And millions of people around America are celebrating this new year. On said new year, they are using their energy to make New Year's resolution. Y'all know that biblically, we are supposed to have discipline every single day. And that lack of discipline is exactly why our resolutions usually last about 3 business days. We still have a fupa, and we still munch on snacks in the middle of the night scrolling TikTok until 5 in the morning. Am I right? Okay. With that being said, energy is literally being harvested all around America for this day that literally actually isn't even the first day of the year. Just think about it. Nature literally tells us, why would the first day of the year not be in spring when everything is made new, but would rather be in winter when everything is cold and dead? And don't y'all find it funny that Janus has one head looking in the past and one head looking in the future? And when the ball drops, the fireworks go up and the ball goes down. And also, not for nothing, isn't Janus the god, quote unquote, of gates? Didn't the Pope just open up a door or portal or gate that people believe directly links to the spiritual realm? If y'all want me to get into that, I can definitely make a video on it, because it's crazy. I'm starting to understand why the Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate celebrate all these holidays because it's literally rooted in things that are not of God. Not to mention, I'm just now finding out that they're supposed to be 13 months, not 12. And just to bring in a touch of conspiracy into this is all alleged TikTok, it's satire, it's a hoax, none of this is true. What about all the spikes in unalivings and car crashes and drunkenness that happens on New Year's Day? On top of them harvesting our energy, so many people are actually creating bridges between the spiritual realm and our realm by not being of sober mind and getting completely wasted and making the worst decisions of their life on this day. Y'all, we have got to open our eyes. In 2025, I'm questioning everything. As always, make sure you guys like and follow and comment down below what you think.
I've learned way more on TikTok than I did in school.
Disturbing 911 call. Well, basically back in 2009 there was this California highway patrol officer and he was driving a Lexus. He was in the car with his wife, his 13-year-old daughter, and his brother-in-law. It started off as a normal trip. They were going up north. Out of nowhere, his brother-in-law Chris ends up calling 911 because of a malfunction on the car.
911 emergency, what are you reporting?
Yeah, we're the Lexus.
I'm sorry, your cell phone's cutting out.
We're going north 125. And our accelerator stuck.
I'm sorry?
Our accelerator's stuck. We're on 125 and we're late.
Okay, northbound 125, where are you passing?
We are passing, where are we passing? We're going 120, Mission Gorge. We're in trouble. We can't, there's no brake.
Okay, and you don't have the ability to, like, turn the vehicle off or anything?
We're approaching an intersection. We're approaching an intersection.
Okay.
We're approaching an intersection. Hold on. Pray.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Hello? Everybody in the car, they obviously ended up losing their life. And the most up part about it, the car wasn't even their car. It was a loaner that was given to them by a local Lexus dealership. Well, people believe what happened was that the accelerator got stuck, like it got basically pinched down. He was trying to press the brakes, but it was not working. And that was the year when Toyota recalled a bunch of Toyota cars, a bunch of Lexus cars, because they were having the same problem.
You really believe that in 1969, when televisions were still in black and white and folks were still using rotary fucking phones, and most new cars sold in the United States didn't even have power windows or fucking air conditioning, did we just strap two cowboys into what was essentially a Coke can with a Chevy small block attached to it and just launch them out into orbit on nothing more than a hope and a dream, and somehow managed to land that glorified bottle rocket safely on an uncharted lunar surface, where they then got out and played hopscotch for a few hours, and then they got right back inside that and then somehow managed to launch themselves back off the goddamn moon with no infrastructure. And then a few short weeks later, they landed safely back on Earth. You really believe that happened? Goddamn, you're a gullible son of a... I bet you still believe in Claus, you goof.
The cameraman's still up there. I guess they left him behind.
The best food for your skin is avocado. The worst food for your skin is French fries. The best food for your brain is walnuts. The worst food for your brain is soda. The best food for your vision is carrots. The worst food for your vision is packaged chips. The best food for your heart is salmon. The worst food for your heart is sausages. The best food for your bones is spinach. The worst food for your bones is diet soda. The best food for your memory is blueberries. The worst food for your memory is trans fats. The best food for your focus is green tea. The worst food for your focus is energy drinks. The best food for muscle growth is chicken breast. The worst food for muscle growth is alcohol. The best food for weight loss is steel-cut oats. The worst food for weight loss is cereal. If nature didn't make it, don't take it.
Okay. You know, at this point, I'm not sure anymore. Looks like a laser to me.
So this homeless man turned in thousands of dollars to the police one day. But when the shocked officers gave him even more money for his honesty, he just refused to take it for one particular reason. You see, this 60-year-old had been walking around Langford, Canada, when he suddenly found a random bag full of $2,400. Although he definitely needed it, he knew that the money belonged to someone else and just felt that turning it in was the right thing to do. As it turns out, he was completely right, and police soon found someone's panicking signs saying that they lost his money and couldn't afford to lose it. But when the CEO of a local news website, Mike Kelly, heard about this homeless man's actions, he was so touched that he decided to start a GoFundMe, raising almost $5,000. But when the cops helped finally track this guy down to tell him the great news, all he said was he didn't want it.
Wow.
Incredibly, he just told these cops to donate it to a homeless shelter since all he really wanted was a job. Even when the cops gave him a day to think about it, he still insisted on giving the money away. And although he didn't want to be identified on the news, these cops vowed to help get him the perfect job.
God bless you, sir. What is that?
Hey everybody, we've got some breaking news. So the man known as Victor, who allegedly leaked one of the most controversial and mysterious pieces of UFO related footage ever, known as the alien interview, has just been doxxed. So according to UFO researcher and filmmaker Jon Stewart, the alien interview video is authentic. And Victor, the man who leaked it from Area 51, his real name is Stanton John Willett. Check this out.
I consulted a military insider with access to the Groom Lake entry log, who confirmed to me that an individual named Stanton John Willett was present at the base at a time between 1977 to 1991. This revelation marks a turning point in the alien interview investigation, bringing us closer than ever to uncovering finally, after 30 years, the full truth about Victor's identity and the oranges of this footage. The pieces are finally coming together, and we remain committed to exposing the reality behind one of the most controversial and significant UFO-related leaks in American history.
So if this is actually a legitimate video of a real alien being, the implications are monumental. Let me know what you think.
I don't know what to think.
Europeans didn't conquer anyone because they were stronger, smarter, or superior in any way. They were walking sacks of disease that coughed their way to world domination and then rewrote history to make themselves look powerful. White supremacists love to bring up Hernan Cortés defeating the Aztecs like it was some brilliant military strategy. Let's break down what actually happened. Cortés and his 600 men arrived in 1519. The Aztec Empire had a standing army of hundreds of thousands of men. In a fair fight, the Spanish would have been obliterated. The first battles, Cortés lost. The Aztecs kicked his forces out of Tenochtitlan in 1520 during the Noche Triste, or the Sad Night, forcing him to flee like a scared child. Then came smallpox. The disease, brought over by just one infected slave among the Spanish ranks, ripped through the Aztecs, killing about 50% of them in just 1 year. The smallpox didn't just kill warriors, it killed priests, generals, and even the emperor himself. By the time Cortés returned in 1521, Tenochtitlan was a rotting corpse of a city. The Spaniards just walked in and mopped up the remains. And yet, some people act like he was a military genius. The truth is, he was getting absolutely destroyed until a virus stepped in and did the work for him. Same thing happened with the Inca Empire. Francisco Pizarro didn't conquer the Incas. He showed up after smallpox had wiped out millions of them and thrown the empire into a civil war. The Inca Emperor Huayna Capac and his heir both died from smallpox before they had even heard of the Spanish. This led to a civil war between his two sons Atahualpa and Huáscar. Pizarro and his 168 men didn't win against the Incas. They took advantage of a civilization already in chaos, kidnapped the emperor, and murdered unarmed people at the Battle of Cajamarca. You want to act like that's military superiority? That's opportunism at best, and genocide at worst. And when disease wasn't fast enough, Europeans weaponized it. The British literally handed out smallpox-infected blankets to natives in 1763. And this wasn't a rumor. British generals wrote about it in their own letters. Nor was it a one-off case. The Europeans knew that their disease was their deadliest weapon, and used it. And let's talk about Africa, since you love pretending that Europeans just walked in and took over. Europeans couldn't even get past the coasts for centuries because African kingdoms were too powerful and the climate was too deadly for them. The Zulu kingdom under Shaka Zulu wiped out British forces using nothing but spears and superior battle tactics. The Ashanti Empire held off British colonization for nearly 100 years. So how did the British finally win? Not through strength, not through strategy. That's right, through the Maxim machine gun. During the Battle of Omdurman in 1898, British soldiers, armed with machine guns, massacred 10,000 Sudanese warriors and lost only 48 men in one day. That wasn't war, that was slaughter. The second Europeans had guns that could wipe out entire armies in minutes, they stopped pretending to fight fair and turned Africa into a bloodbath. And now you pathetic little keyboard crusaders sit in 2025 and talk about how the Europeans were strong and superior. If they were so strong, why did they need diseases and industrial weapons to win? If they were so dominant, why did they keep losing wars until they could turn battlefields into mass graveyards with machine guns? Your ancestors weren't conquerors. They were plague rats who got lucky. Cope.
I thought this was common knowledge.
How did a 16-year-old boy accidentally stumble upon one of the most important discoveries in history? In 1947 in Bethlehem, close to the Dead Sea, Mohammed Ebdid, a young Bedouin shepherd, was tending to his animals when he lost a goat. During his search for the lost animal, he came upon a cave that one of his cousins had previously discovered. Believing that the goat may be inside the cave, he threw a stone inside to try to scare the goat out. However, after throwing the stone, he heard the sound of a breaking pot. He then went inside the cave and discovered his stone had smashed a jar containing scrolls which had Hebrew writing on them. He then found multiple pieces and took the findings back to his father. Unknown to his tribe, Muhammad had just made one of the most important discoveries in history. The Bedouins sold the scrolls to buyers in Bethlehem, and after changing hands multiple times, the items caught the attention of the biblical scholar and archaeologist John C. Trevor, who found similarities between the scrolls and the Nash Papyrus, which was then the oldest known Hebrew script of the Bible. The findings eventually led to further investigation of the caves, and more scrolls and other items were found. After multiple different tests by various experts, it was confirmed that the findings in the caves were the oldest known biblical manuscripts ever found, and were over 2,000 years old. They became known as the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I thought the Dead Sea Scrolls were not found in Bethlehem, but in the West Bank. I might be mistaken.